Hey there, Wastelander. Looks like you just found one of my Capital Wasteland Travel Guide holotapes. But not just any of them, you found the Prologue Holotape. I know. You're probably thinking,
so, what the heck is the Capital Wasteland Travel Guide?
And
who cares? There's tons more holotapes out there across the wasteland. Why is yours any more special?
oh wait, you may also be thinking,
You're just another random voice on a recording, probably whining about some personal problem just like every other holotape out there.
well, if that's what you're thinking, then I'd have to tell you that you'd only be partially right. But will you stick around to find out why? Oh, you're still here listening. Well, that's great. I appreciate your time. I mean, I thought you wouldn't be interested. There actually being a lot more holotapes out there, but you just don't yet know the half of it. First things first though, before I fill you in on all the details of the Capital Wasteland Travel Guide, allow me to introduce myself so that you know who's leaving all this information in the holotapes you may come across on your travels. I won't go into my entire backstory because that's just not important here. Though, if you're interested, I may have scribbled down my past and my adventures somewhere. What I will tell you is that I drive around in a Nuka-Cola Quantum delivery truck to different locations for my Capital Wasteland Travel Guide research. And maybe in hopes that I also find more Nuka-Cola Quantums. But I digress. Some have called me a traveler, a cartographer, a historian, and even a tracker. But really, I just go by Dom Quantum. Or maybe the last Quantum, because you might see me running off with the last sweet cold beverage of Nuka Quantum that you'll ever come across. Anyway, my name isn't actually what's important here. Okay, alright, enough delaying the inevitable, let's get down to the goods. You're still listening because you want to know more about the Capital Wasteland Travel Guide. Well, we all know that after the bombs dropped in 2077, the world changed forever. Nukes devastated the planet and changed everything on the surface as we would find from any historical records found in the wasteland today, if you're lucky enough to find any. Yet, just like your thoughts on holotapes, there are still remnants of the old pre-Great War world scattered across the wastelands. And that, my friend, is where I come into play. Like others have done via notes, holotapes, terminal entries, or survival guides, I've taken it upon myself to create this series of sorts and leave behind yet another story. At every location you venture to, I've left behind a holotape somewhere nearby, which I've dubbed the Capital Wasteland Travel Guide. It's a series of holotapes I've created to help Wastelanders learn more about each of the locations in the Wasteland. In reviewing each holotape, I'll provide you with post-Great War details and events about the locations where it can be found. I'll also go over the current layout so that we can get a general idea of the structure and what else might be nearby. Then, I'll also try to dive into historical records to determine if the location existed prior to the Great War. If a location did exist prior to the Great War, I'll review its layout, history, or any events to also see how things have changed or what historical significance the location used to have. If it didn't exist, in the very least, I'll try to find any structures or features to compare with what may resemble anything it would share with what exists in the Wasteland today. It will be as if we have physically traveled to these pre-Great War locations to get a first-eye view account about them. But it doesn't stop there. The most enjoyable part of all of this, at least for me, is poring over the maps and adding the locations to our very own archive. That's right, I'll be looking at and comparing the pre-Great War map and post-Great War map. This process will help in determining if the correct location has been found or not. It will also show just how much the terrain has changed or shifted the locations around. It may also assist us further in locating other points of interest on the map. This whole adventure will be like trying to tie the pre-Great War and post-Great War locations together in some way after all this time and destruction, which might be interesting or may add more to the mystery. A lot of the information that will be used to document these findings for the locations being researched will have been gathered from my own adventures in the Wasteland. By having scouted and ventured through these locations before you arrived here, I'm able to put my findings to holotapes in hopes that it might give you further insight into it. A location could be dangerous after all. You might walk into a trap, but if that's your thing, I'm not going to stop you. You'll at least have the upper hand. But you should know that I've also happened to have found a particular book of sorts in the Arlington Library. The Game of the Year edition version of the official game guidebook will come into play from time to time, giving us even further details about locations, inhabitants, and more, which may also not be common knowledge to most non-player Wasteland survivors. This, along with terminal access to an online archive known as the Fallout Wiki, I'll be able to gather a larger variety of data and resources to compile the necessary information for you while still staying true to what we'd expect to learn from the Wastelands. Ah yes, the maps. I'd be lying if I said it was going to be easy. Sure, we can just overlay the Wasteland map to the pre-Great War map, and then scale it so that it appears to be a nice and equal representation of the Potomac River and surrounding DMV. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia for you non-locals. Even the bright green area of the Capital Wasteland in the lower right-hand corner of the map fits nicely within the borders of Washington, DC. If we were simply to stop here, we would be given the impression that the Fallout 3 map is featuring everything of the real world found within its borders. And yet, while it does do a good job of representing the general area and providing locations from every corner of the map, the deeper the research goes, the more it can be seen that the Wasteland map is not actually a one-to-one copy of the area it's supposed to represent. A quick and good example of this would be the area of the Capital Wasteland, otherwise known as the city of Washington, DC. Using just this section of the map right of the Potomac River, the map can be scaled down quite a bit to use the Project Purity Jefferson Memorial location in the south as one anchor point, and then make further adjustments to the map so that the DuPont Circle location on the north side also match up. After doing this, it becomes very easy to see that those other well-known points of interest in between these two locations are still very out of place and require even further adjustment if we want them to also line up properly. Not only that, but after having scaled down the map to match up locations, it can be seen that the Capital Wasteland only represents about a tenth of what the DC area actually is. But the Capital Wasteland, being the maze that it is, can easily get away with these differences regardless of which scaled map is looked at. What's interesting is when we stick to the scaled down map, other areas outside of the Capital Wasteland that contain multiple points of interest in one area also line up better with existing and plausible locations than with the larger scaled map. This results in the fact that the more locations that are found and discovered, the more I'll have to break and spread apart each section of the post-Great War Wasteland map so that all the locations can be lined up and matched to where they should be. The true challenge and more entertaining one will be finding the Fallout 3 locations that do not exist in the real world. Interestingly enough, while this method doesn't support the Potomac River coverage, the scaled down pieces still do appear to fit within the borders of the larger overlaid area and roughly where one would expect them to be. What this shows is just how much of the DMV the Wasteland map attempts to cover, though there appear to be issues with the scale regarding the overall map, locations, and distances. However, it will also show just how much potential was left out of Fallout 3 with the scaled down map pieces being spread apart and the distances in between these locations being much more visually apparent. To give you an idea, there are many quarries, regional parks, country clubs, farms, utility or power plants, science and medical related centers to name a very small few. I mean, this would still be a dust-sized speck compared to what you'd find here. Oh heck, DC has an armory, marine barracks, and could have its very own Diamond City in the National Stadium where you would find Rivet City. Another that stands out immediately on the left side of the map is the Washington Dulles International Airport too. I mean, it's really hard to miss. And it just goes to show just how much there could have been when looking at the spaces in between the already existing known locations. But the area of the DMV that the Fallout 3 map covers when adjusted to the Potomac River is a rather large area, and one could find many points of interest that would be amazing to explore within the Fallout universe. It can't be expected to find every single home, building, pebble, or stone for that matter that we would in real life. And with storage media being what it was at the time of Fallout 3's release, it's very likely that some locations had to be sacrificed. In the end, the goal here is to track down all the locations in Fallout 3's Capital Wasteland area, whether they exist in the real world or not. This will be an interesting but fun journey to piece together and discover all the Wasteland locations. I hope you find yourself enjoying the Capital Wasteland Travel Guide holotapes. If so, and if you're looking for even more, I've set up an online archive with additional content, images, and other things. This can be accessed by punching in the archive frequency address that I've placed in the description area of this holotape into any terminal or your Pip-Boy device. If you'd like to discuss the Capital Wasteland Travel Guide further, join me and my friends in my Discord servers to do so, or to talk about lots of other stuff. So until the next holotape, hold on to any quantums you find for me, and stay safe in the Wastelands. Hey Wastelander, don't forget to check out the description of this video for lots of additional content. You'll find links to my other platforms where I share a lot of Fallout and other projects. You can check out the Quantum Store to get Capital Wasteland and other merch, or donate to any of my charity fundraisers to support some incredibly great causes. If you liked today's episode, do me the huge favor of hitting that like button. And if you really liked it, you could also subscribe. It's completely free. Please let me know what you think of today's episode down in the comments. Your feedback is most valuable. And if you'd like to contribute to the series, you can always buy me a coffee, hit that super like button, or become a channel member. For your convenience, you'll have all of this accessible and more on the Capital Wasteland Travel Guide website. Regardless of how you choose to show your support, it's all very much appreciated. So thank you. This being the prologue episode, I don't really know what kind of bloopers I'm going to have for this. If anything, I could do a lot of behind the scenes since this is kind of the prologue and about the series and whatnot, so I guess we'll see. Part of the best thing about making the Capital Wasteland travel guide and researching the locations is just diving back into the games and just having so much fun with them. What I enjoy so much about poring over the maps is comparing those real-world locations to the ones that are found in Fallout 3. And of course, we have those really well-known locations down in DC on the mall, specifically like the Washington Monument, the Capitol Building, the Lincoln Memorial, and all of those other locations found down there. But there are other locations that have been ported into the game which may not be as well known. For example, the Springvale Elementary School found in game, well, there is actually a school right where it should be found called Spring Hill Elementary School, and the naming couldn't have been more obvious than that. Can I get the pose in the shot? Thumbnails. Oh boy, thumbs up. There you go. Oh jeez. Why is everything blowing up? Oh dear God, there's an update for this. Little behind the scene action into how I'm getting some of the footage for this episode. I guess that should be it. Then we just let it record. If I got the framing right, I think it'll sit there for quite a bit. That should be fine. Don't mind me, I'm just here for books. Oh, we might find some kind of books in there. Yeah, I do realize I am using my Fallout 76 character for some of the footage of this episode for a series that is mostly for Fallout 3 locations, but I feel like this character, my 76 character, represents myself a whole lot better than my Fallout 3 character does, and that's why I did it. But also because, I don't know, West Virginia is really not that far away. It's practically next door to the Capital Wasteland. It's in real life about maybe 2 hours away, so maybe we'll go into West Virginia sooner or later. I guess time will tell. We'll see. This is not going to turn out well. Okay, that was fast. Is it going to boot with my mods? Oh! Oh no, it's gonna blow up. This is such a massive project. It's just, there's just so many files to put this together. And it's roughly about 4 times longer than the old prologue. Well, at least the series is better explained. Well, that's one for the blooper reel. What the heck happened there? Can I hit him? I guess I can.